you're a drug dealer. You just prescribe drugs. It's like everything we've been studying is a symptom to match to a pharmaceutical drug. Symptom, drug, symptom, drug.
What I love about you is your kind of mission statement is root cause.
But when you're in a system that you don't fully believe in it, like you see people suffering from the system, from the outcomes as well, I was always trying to figure it out. Your body knows only one thing, how to heal itself. Something is preventing your body from healing, and it's your life, so you have to change it.
Dr. Karolina Pras, welcome to the Pathway to Peak Performance. I'm so glad to hear that your charity is the Limelight Foundation. That's super cool. So many people can't afford to be treated when they have Lyme disease, so I think that's an interesting story to start with. Welcome. So great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure.
Our pleasure. So, so many things to cover today. And I want to start with sort of like your origin story. Let's go back to where you're from, and then we'll kind of take it all the way to where you are today and the things that you're doing. And there's so much in that to cover. I think it's going to be tons of fun.
Okay, where to start? I grew up in Lithuania in a very medical family. So since baby days, I saw my mom working really hard for her patients, and I saw how much joy and purpose to her life this work brought. And for me, it just ingrained these values, how, what is life about? What's the purpose of life? It gave so much meaning, and I admired her so much. And her family, most of her family, doctors. Her father was doctor. He lived through both world wars, treating people in a basement, wounded people, and helping them. So, it's an environment I grew up with. My sister's a dentist, so it's very medical family.
The interesting thing about that is that when you have that sort of in your family, it's like, you can't really escape it. You're going to be in that, or some people do, but oftentimes you always see a lot of the children go that direction because it feels natural to do that.
It really felt so natural, but then also my mom gave so much freedom and so much opportunities to explore everything we loved doing as kids. I was an athlete. I went to art school. I did all these hobbies, all these things. I trained dogs, like dogs competition, agility, like all these different things. And math for me was one of my favorite subjects. I'm like, should I do math then? So why only medicine? And I had to give it some time and thought, but then I just decided to go with it and see where it takes me. And then in a medical system, while studying, I already started noticing how flawed the system is and what's the war going to be like. And in the middle of it, I was thinking, okay, should I quit? But I'm not a quitter. I'll keep going, and maybe I can do something to improve it, or I don't know. But like somewhere halfway, I realized that you're a drug dealer. You just prescribe drugs. It's like everything we've been studying is a symptom to match to a pharmaceutical drug. Symptom, drug, symptom, drug. We learned that there are some side effects, but never a huge emphasis on that. Nothing about lifestyle. Nothing about stress, environment, sleep, diet. Little bit. Maybe there was like 30 minutes here and there about these subjects, but and then geriatric care was one of my last modules, and I saw people just being on like 20, 30 different medications, and your job is just to keep them taking that, and the moment another side effect develops, then you numb it with another drug. So I'm like, wow, like I don't see myself doing it. I can't. And I still have a huge respect for people who stayed in the system. They really invested their heart, and they really want to help people, but the system is very flawed and limited. So
yeah, and I think, you see it every day. In two of our businesses, we actually interface with doctors who are doing what you're doing. Now, you're not a client of ours, but, we have lots of doctors like you that are clients of those companies. And it's amazing to see just how many people just want to get away from the system. And yet that traditional system has to exist in some way, shape, or form, certainly for, situations where people have serious diseases. But even then, now we're starting to think about like there are other ways to treat some of the things that traditional medicine really isn't addressing very well. So it's a really interesting thing. I'm curious. So you grew up in Lithuania, and you described it to me as being able to just kind of go wherever you wanted to go. Now, this is post-Soviet times, right? So it must have been tell me about the feeling that you had around that. Like when you're there as a kid, how is it?
I think personally it's a perfect place to grow up. I was born after we got our independence, so I didn't see any of the horrible effects of occupation. Um, but everything was still slow and frozen. Economy was frozen. There was a lot of corruption. That generation who lived through those dark times, they suffered a lot. They are wounded because there was no self-help. There was no internet back then, there was no books. Like going to therapy was highly discouraged because if you go to therapy, if you seek for help, then you openly admit that you are crazy. And then they can send you into exile because of that, or like do electroshock or something like that. So people really suffered. But then my generation, who were born in independent country, we did not see any of that. We grew up, it was really safe. Uh, it was just beautiful. Like our cities, two largest cities, are around 500,000 people. I think it's a perfect size for a kid, to go to school, do all these activities. I've been super active because I could. My school was 3 minutes away from my home, so I would wake up 10 minutes before my classes would start. And then after school, I could do all these activities. I would go to yoga. After yoga, I would do a dance class, then I would do art school. And it's like 4 different activities after school every day. And my mom or anyone else didn't need to take me there because I could just walk myself to those places since age 8, 9, like as much as I remember. So I really appreciate that looking back because I don't see it's possible in many countries, in many places across the world. And it's giving me a bit of like mixed feelings because there were good things and there were bad things at the same time. But now this younger generation, they are rebuilding the country. It's blossoming. It's really changing every time I come back there. Every few months, it's like new things, new buildings, new services, like best quality, and you don't need to commute for 2 hours. Somewhere everything is accessible. So yeah, it's a hidden gem. We call it a boutique country in Europe. Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, Lithuania.
yeah.
Great people. Very interesting culture. So you're going to school, you're doing all those activities, you have all this freedom to kind of move about. Of course, your mother's very busy as a doctor, and I know that she spent a lot of extra time focused on patients. And then you decided to go to medical school. Take us kind of through that process. We talked on it a little bit, but take us through the process of sort of like what were the challenges? I mean, you're on a pathway to peak performance as a person. It's pretty clear, right? From a very young age, you're somebody that wants to achieve something. So take us through that. Help us understand what it was like.
Oh, it's been confusing because yes, I'm very driven and I wanted to achieve great things and have an impact, positive impact on the world. But when you're in a system that you don't fully believe in it, like you see people suffering from the system, from the outcomes as well. Um, I was always trying to figure it out, like how can I help, what to do. I'm not very political to change the system on a bigger level.
Sure.
But I could do impact on a smaller, I can help people in my community, in my circle, my patients, maybe encourage other doctors to open their minds more. So I always had this curiosity, is this medical system same here, or same in other countries as well, or is it just in my country? So I kind of redesigned medical school in my own way. Like I did 4 different countries. First, I took an exchange program. Then I realized I can just get credits, like organize exchange program for myself and design it. So I reached out to universities to if I can study there and get the credits. And I did that in Turkey, in Prague, Czech Republic, in Shanghai and Hong Kong. Like no one from from people I know did it in these places, these continents, especially Hong Kong and Shanghai. So it's been incredible experience, and same flaws exist everywhere. Like here, living in the United States for the past 5 years, I see same issues, and people complain, US medical system is horrible, but it's not that much better elsewhere. It's better. It is better, but not much. It's a smaller country, smaller problems, but it's like similar things.
I'm curious, when you were in Shanghai and Hong Kong, two totally different cultures in and of themselves, right? But when you were there, how much of a balance of Eastern medicine with Western medicine was there? Because we see some, like I think my brother was sick one time for like a month with some sort of he was like gray, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. He must have had some sort of virus. My mom took him over to Chinatown to some Chinese doctor, and the guy made a tea, and within 2 days, totally fine.
Wow. Yeah.
So we thought the kid was going to die, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what was the balance there?
Yeah, so I was still within Western medicine model. So I was in that system, and it's not integrated. Traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine stay separate. I was in Shanghai University hospital that is mostly German-based. I mean, the language is English, but what I was seeing in a hospital was a lot of malpractice. I'm a huge fan of Chinese medicine, huge fan, but the practitioner has to know what he or she is doing because it's really risky. And I've been seeing so much malpractice, like severe liver damage, irreversible liver damage, like people being all yellow, eyeballs yellow, like crazy things. And then, of course, if they get harmed in one system, we look for help in another. So yeah, some of the people we were able to save, some of them no. And China, it's a big country. There are great practitioners. They're not that great. And for traditional Chinese medicine, the licensing, I know it's different. So
yeah, it's interesting just to kind of think you're sort of there and kind of wonder what is the balance. It sounds like it's the same thing here. They're just not integrated in shape or form.
So it didn't discourage me to believe in Chinese medicine. It did the opposite. It gave me more respect, like herbs can be extremely powerful. All these things can be so powerful. So you have to administer it. You have to know what you're doing. I'm using in my practice some herbs, but the ones are safe and widely used across the globe. Not going into something more specific and risky. But these herbs can be more potent than, antibiotics. For Lyme disease, I'm taking herbs that are so strong, and they are broad spectrum. They can do more work than pharmaceutical antibiotics do. So it's just fascinating.
They have adaptogenic qualities.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, like anti-inflammatory, immune stimulating. So not only keeping your microbes, bacteria in check.
Yeah. So it's almost like a GLP-3, right? So we look at retatrutide. So we've got GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon instead of just the one agent that we had in just the GLP-1. So it's sort of like the notion of taking one thing that addresses a whole bunch of things that produce an outcome.
Exactly. It's a synergistic effects. And then you can also stack. A traditional Chinese medicine doctor knows how to stack these things to give your body what it needs to bring your body back to the balance. I really like this model. They are not treating a symptom per se. They are bringing body back to balance. They are finding your imbalances. Instead of, oh, you have pain, let me give you painkillers. Oh, your thyroid is weak. Let's put you on medication for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, that's a crazy notion of being on medication for the rest of your life, right? That's what I love. What I love about you is your kind of mission statement is root cause.
Right.
you're trying to get to the what is the
Yeah.
thing, not
Right.
treating symptoms. Let's get this thing erased. And I think that's a huge statement because so many
Right.
people don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we kind of covered medical school and all of that. But one of the interesting things about you is that another thing that you say is doctors get sick too.
Oh, okay, where to start? Like, I mean, honestly, doctors are one of the most sick people I see. Like, it's not uncommon to be overweight. It's not uncommon to have severe hormone imbalances. Uh, Doctors are just on a maintenance of drugs. Like, if someone would follow the doctor 24/7, if you go home with them, open their shelf, maybe a regular person would have some supplements, some herbs, or and few medication for emergency. Doctors have so much in their shelf things they are taking on daily basis just to manage their symptoms when they get side effects, when they take more. But yeah, that's one side of the picture. But another side of the picture is in society it's kind of like almost look down that if something happens to you, you're not good at what you're doing. So a lot of doctors don't even talk about their issues. They hide. So now the same influencers doing, they portray perfect health so that people would buy their services, their product. But the reality is, and I know from some like very close circle, the reality is that these people are usually dealing with more issues than a regular person. That's how they got into the thing they're doing.
It is interesting. And I once heard somebody say, never trust a fat doctor.
Yeah, right.
And yet, how many times have you interacted with somebody who's like, you go, man, you're not living it.
So many times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it. Yeah, I think it comes back to these four kind of, really important things. First of all, and I don't know if in order of importance, how you see it, and I'd love to get your take on it, but sleep,
Yeah.
um, diet, exercise, and then optimization around that. And so many people just don't know because they don't, you go to get a test, they're not testing you for the range of things. We're so in the sick care model that we're really built for waiting until somebody has a problem because that's how they make money. So when I was young in the healthcare space, I was like, what's going on? I mean, like, why aren't we trying to figure out how do we prevent stuff? It just wasn't how the model was built. And yeah, I could go on and on talking about that. And but I feel like, now there's so many things you can do from a testing standpoint to understand where people are. So in your practice today, how do you do it?
We start with blood work and also very broad questionnaire. So the first consultation, it's from 60 to 90 minutes. So when you really get to know the person and all the history, all the symptoms, and connect the dots with blood work and have this whole picture and see what's happening with the person. But the way I read blood work, I don't use these conventional ranges. I use like much more narrow. So then you can see so much from the blood work. You can see what systems might be affected and where is it going towards. You can see before something happens, you can see before the liver is damaged. You can see before gets too weak. So you see these patterns connect to a person's story, and then you optimize the lifestyle. There's a lot of lifestyle changes. You have to change your life. What's that led you to those symptoms and to these results? You cannot start medicating it and expect results. Yes, you may achieve some result, but that's going to be very short-lived if you don't change your life. It's your body knows only one thing, how to heal itself. Something is preventing your body from healing, and it's your life, so you have to change it. You can't expect the pill to do everything.
Yeah.
I'm not against medication to help with symptoms, to alleviate the struggle the person is going through. Like the patient should never suffer. So yes, for medication, but it should be with some goal in the near future to get off it.
Yeah.
So you don't need it. But it usually most of the chronic illnesses come from deficiencies, toxicities, and your nervous system dysregulation.
Okay, so we've got deficiencies. So I could be, hey, I don't have enough vitamin D.
Right.
Right. It's just one example.
Right.
Toxicity, I have heavy metal toxicity.
Right.
And then nervous system dysregulation in some way, shape, or form, which could be also related to all of those things.
Yes.
So those first two could be causing the nervous system issues, and often probably are, right?
Right. It's all super interconnected, and the body gets stuck in this vicious cycle that one issue is feeding another. That's why I say it's never one root cause. Now it's a trend in this natural medicine, functional medicine, to chase the root cause or root causes, but it's never one, and it's usually like not even two. It's many root causes feeding one another. So you have to address them all somehow, or address at least few of them so your body is supported enough to heal.
I think that's such a great way to look at it. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on pharmacokinetic testing? Where you're really going in and you're seeing, okay, hey, we've got this panel. We know where you have issues, but now how we're going to treat it based on your genetics. Because I feel like what most people really don't realize, you see it everywhere. It's sort of like this notion of, oh, this supplement's good, so because I take it, you should take it.
Yeah.
Maybe not, right? Maybe taking L-carnitine is really bad for you based on who you are. So you can get some of that in the panel, but then going a little bit deeper to try to understand your genetics. How do you come out on that?
Genetics can be helpful. I think now it's such a hot topic and people hyper focus too much on it. In certain cases, it can be life-changing, yes. But a lot of people, let's say methylation, now it's everything. Everyone talks about methylation. And they test their genes and like, oh, I'm bad at methylation. My body cannot process this and that. Let's do these methylated B vitamins. And when they overdo, they feel bad on it. So it happens so often, but people forget about gene expression. Genes you have doesn't mean you're ever going to have issues with that. So it's not a death sentence. It's how your body, in what environment you are and how your body is turning on and off those genes. The same with mold. It's, the mold flipped my life upside down. And part of it, there is a genetic component to that.
There is?
Yeah, but 1/4 of population has the same gene. The body cannot naturally detox mold. So, normally our bodies are designed to detox everything we inhale. We inhale mycotoxins in some contaminated environment, and our bodies are designed to flush it, to get rid of it. And 25% of population have this haplotype of HLA gene that they just don't detoxify mycotoxins.
I have a question about that. Do you see that, like factor V lipase, we see that in Northern European people, right? But do you see this in this 25%? Do you see this spread out all over the place and it's just a gene mutation or something that is an issue for this 25% everywhere?
I don't know about other continents, but in Europe and United States, it's really prevalent. And it's not a mutation, it's just your haplotype. So it's not something that you have abnormal genes. It's completely normal. Just some people are not that great detoxificators as others are. And people with those genes, it doesn't mean they're gonna ever get sick. But again, few things happen in life. Some severe mold exposure, some stressful event, COVID, and these things, they all wreck the body. Like they causes this crisis in the body that your immune system can no longer cope with everything what it has to deal, and then you get all these reactions and illnesses.
Yeah, wild. So there are the people out there that are like, okay, going back to that N of 1 thing. You see they've got these protocols and they're like, oh, follow my protocol. And even in exercise, I've been training for so many years, and, there are times when I look at, like, you got to change up your training. You have to train differently. Sometimes you really got to cut down to build back up. What do you like in terms of exercise? What sort of, we covered sort of like the beginnings of what we're going to talk about here, but from an exercise standpoint, what do you like?
Yeah. What I like might be very different what another person likes. It really depends on personal goals. But I think functional movement, different types of movements, that's super important. The way people lived, I don't know, in Stone Age, like moving in different patterns instead of just lifting. And I'm not against weightlifting, it's great, but it should always be combined with some functional movement where you move in rotation. So then you can also stimulate your fascia flow and keep your body healthy, like stimulate lymphatic system, stimulate circulation and everything, instead of hyper focusing on one type of isolated muscle group exercise. So
what's if you're sitting at a desk for the majority of the day, this new thing that's out is, okay, hey, let's get up every 45 minutes and do 10 squats. I'm sure you've seen this, right?
Yeah.
But that's just up and down movement. What could you add to that would give you that rotational mobility, flexibility that you could do as a part of that 10 squat every 45 minutes routine?
you know what I'm doing? Because of this mold, going back to this topic, I lost my furniture at least 3 times, like lost all my belongings, everything. So I sit on the floor sometimes. And I had a period of my life where like I just got rid of everything. And before I make sure this environment is super clean and mold free, I'm not buying new furniture again. So I had just a coffee table and I was sitting on a floor and like, wow, my body changed because of always standing up from the floor, not from the chair. My legs became so much stronger, so much. So every time you stand up to, I don't know, get some water, it's like a full squat up and down. And I try, like, from then on, okay, I bought furniture, I still don't use it. I sit next to my couch on a rug. So I really got used to that, unless it's something more formal, you know, like a Zoom call. So then, okay, I'll move to my desk, but the floor, it is like, that's it. I'm sticking with it because my body just changed, my posture changed. And I realized chairs are amazing occasionally when it's like work, when it's something more formal. Yes, but then we always just sit a little bit and stand up. We never do this full movement that actually human body is designed to. The way we grew up, you know, our ancestors with no couches, they would sit on a floor, maybe some little stone, and then they stand up and run, climb, do things. But it was never like chairs and desks. So I highly recommend getting rid of furniture. So much more space.
What do you think if we change this podcast to be sitting on the floor? Do you think that would work?
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, some cozy design, some plants.
Maybe you could come back and help us figure out
Yeah.
how to like move it to the floor.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see some of the guests try to figure that one out, right?
Just tell them like, no, like, I don't know, jeans that are not stretchy or something.
You say, look, our chief medical officer says we have to sit on the floor. It's just the way that it works around here.
Right. But I'll tell you, first few days it was hard. And then I realized, wow, I did so much disservice to my body, always just relying on chairs. You know, like in China, in Japan, it's normal to sit on a floor. It's really normal. And we Westerners designed our life thinking that it's convenience, but in the long run, it causes us, you know, we pay the price of our joints and yeah.
It's interesting because I think about in my career, just the millions of miles that I've flown and being in airplane seats for just hours upon hours. And then, you know, it's so bad for you. It's unbelievable if you do that. Where you were talking millions of miles, right? It's a lot.
Yeah.
I hate traveling now because I have to sit in the airplane seat. So it might wrecks my lower back. I have to be very careful about that, you know, and what seat and who I'm sitting next to. You know, there were times when I was like just pushed over. This is like, how did this person get this seat? How did I wind up with this person but that's just the way that it is. So, all right. So let's talk about, I want to go into this mold exposure story. Can you tell it?
Yeah. I had multiple mold exposures throughout my life. The house I grew up in, underneath there was a basement that was never fully insulated. So there was huge mold issue. And my story is pretty typical. What I see now with clients, with friends' stories. If there's, let's say, 5 people living in a house, a family of 5, maybe only 2 or 3 of them gonna experience symptoms. And those symptoms for each of a person gonna be super different. For some, it can be brain symptoms, it can be anxiety, memory issues, difficulties learning. For some people, it can be more physical. It can be rashes, eczema. For some people, it's sleep issues, night sweats, neurological issues, some tremors. And that's why it's really difficult to understand what's happening in that family, why some people are sick and then other people are completely healthy. So I was the one who always experienced mysterious symptoms throughout my childhood. None of my family members had anything similar, and they may have also reacted to that mold, but not as badly as I did. I still haven't tested them for their HLA genes. I'm super curious to learn actually how much it impacts, because based on that, mold is harmful to everyone, but based on your genetics, that's going to define if you have short-term damage and your body gets rid of toxins and then you're fine again, or it causes you a systemic immune system dysregulation that is long-term damage.
Massive inflammation.
Yeah, and long-term damage. And then even if you move out of exposure and try to detoxify, take all the binders and everything, you still have to rebuild your immune system, and that takes time. So I've been experiencing weird symptoms like metallic taste in mouth. But it's like it doesn't stop you from living, so you kind of like, okay, it comes and goes. You don't pay much attention. And then nosebleeds as a kid, frequently, so much. Tummy pains. Now it's known from people who work with these people. It's called chronic inflammatory response syndrome, CIRS. Doctors who worked at that, they say if a child has unexplained tummy pain and there was no other reason, 95%, it's because there's mold in a house and the child is reacting. So that was me. My mom, she's a doctor. She took me to so many doctors when I was a kid. I always had this chronic tummy pain. So now everything connected, but it only connected me a year ago. Like all the dots connected to me a year ago, because you don't learn about that in medical school. And even in functional medicine, you learn about mold until a certain extent, but then you don't go that deep to like genetics and chronic inflammatory response syndrome. So there was a huge learning curve. And I think medical system did me a disservice. A lot of people with going through same issues, they say, I've been dismissed by medical system, and I really feel for them. But what if you are a doctor and you dismiss yourself? Because things you learn to ignore many of the symptoms, Being in a system, you trust it. You invest your time, your years, your heart, your blood and sweat to that. And you learn to believe that what you're learning, everything is 100% truth. So you trust your professors, books, science, everything. And then you learn that if your blood work looks okay within those broad ranges, your blood work looks okay, but you still have symptoms, then it's normal or genetic, and you will live with that your entire life. Like my low blood pressure. It's clear that but it was because of mold. But medicine explains, oh, it's genetics. My mom also has very low blood pressure. But what? She lives in the same house where I live. So probably it's the same mechanism, that your antidiuretic hormone is affected, and then you don't keep the blood pressure at normal level. Your osmolarity is affected. Yeah, so there are all these mechanisms, everything connected, like to me. You learn to ignore your symptoms being in a medical system, because then if there's no explanation, if your blood work looks normal for the system, then it's either genetic or it's in your head. You're hypochondriac, That's what we teach. Then you go to psychologists, psychiatrists, you go on anti-anxiety pill or like something like that. So you learn to live with your symptoms instead of advocating for your health and looking for answers. So I got really discouraged. First, I was really looking for answers, but then I got so discouraged. I remember in this university, I'm sitting in this institution in lectures and having this metallic taste in my mouth, clearly feeling like intoxicated, poisoned. And I'm sitting there and thinking, there's no answers in this institution to this symptom. So it's either I am crazy or I should live with it. And you start ignoring these subtle things your body is trying to communicate to you through symptoms that, look, I'm intoxicated, I need some support, I need some help. These symptoms are clear messages. It should not be ignored. I just learned to ignore it. So I dismiss myself, I don't have a story like a lot of people in Lyme and mold world. They say medical system dismissed, did this and that. Like, I didn't even go to doctors much. I went once to gastroenterologist with 20 or 30 years of experience, and like, you trust the authority. But all they can do is PPIs, like proton pump inhibitors. Like, you have, I don't know, PMS, cramps or something, gynecologists have one tool, it's birth control pill. One tool, nothing else, like nothing to support your body, your detoxification. Maybe your liver is overloaded with everything. Nowadays, we're being attacked with so many toxins, and including mycotoxins. Maybe your liver cannot keep up and detoxify these excessive estrogens and get rid of those. So you get this estrogen dominance. But you go to your doctor and the only solution is birth control pill to everything. And it's so simple to support your body, to support your liver. You just take some herbs, you adjust your diet, you get into a better rhythm. That improves everything, your mood, your life quality, your relationship with people, everything, if you do these simple few things instead of getting on a pill.
Really interesting. So you wind up in New York City, your apartment there has mold, you scrap everything, you move to Miami, brand new building, everything's nice, mold there too.
Yeah, I wish it was this simple, but in New York, it was really when I just started learning about impacts of mold. And when I thought I know a lot about mold, I still knew so little. I just knew I have to get rid of it. I have to get out of there. I have to get rid of my belongings. And it was a smart thing to do. I'm happy I did it, but it wasn't overnight, especially when you're affected. So for me, I took time to furnish that apartment. It was COVID, so all the furniture orders took longer. So I lived at my friend's place while I was furnishing my apartment. And I just lived there for 12 days. And that's all it took for me to get super sick. My sister was visiting me. She experienced also symptoms. And that's when I started realizing like something is really wrong here. And our symptoms were a bit different. Chronic fatigue for both, but my sister would stay in bed for 14, 16 hours. And she's on vacation. She flew to visit me and she's in bed all the time. First, we thought, okay, maybe it's a jet lag, but when it's like 1 week later, this is not a jet lag. For me, it was short-term memory loss. I would black out in the middle of conversation. I would forget what I'm saying. And it happens to everyone here and there, but it should not happen multiple times, like, 5 times within 1 hour. I go to a room because I need something. I forgot what I'm doing here, like what's happening. It's been really hard because when you start doubting yourself, your brain, you don't know if you're ever gonna come back. If you don't know if you're ever gonna get your brain back, one is get like physical symptoms, rashes, those gonna go away. But when your brain is affected, it gets scary. You don't know for how long. You don't know what's happening with you, what this mold did to you. And I wasn't fully sure it's mold. Where do you start? Then you're affected. You're in such inflamed state. You're suffering, barely functioning, and then you have to prove landlords that there's mold. That's the hardest part. My landlords, they were brutal. I just immigrated to United States. They have 300 units. They have lawyers inside the management system of the building. They probably dealt with similar situations before. They knew really like how to, they just refused to let me off a lease. And that's been really hard process, especially when you are sick. You don't know where to live. You cannot trust the environment you're in. You cannot trust your own body because it's failing on you. You don't know where else to move. There is no guarantees that the next place you're gonna move to is gonna be better. Statistically, CDC says it's over 50% of buildings have water damage and mold. Practically, it's over 70% or even more from people experiences. So it's really, it's a process. You don't know where to go. You don't know where to run. I got Airbnb for a month. It's not it's not very cheap in Manhattan, but it's like, okay, I'll heal here. It has mold, you know. So it's like you rent somewhere, hotels. It can be 5-star hotel. It's so common they have mold. And then you constantly have to like move and move and move, and it's been hard. And then yeah, like I've chosen Florida. I know because of humidity, it's higher risk, but I've chosen very nice building that I thought it's gonna be well maintained. And I was just starting getting sicker and sicker. In the place I thought I'm gonna find my healing, I'll focus on myself, on my career and everything. I was getting sicker and sicker, and I started spending more time in bed. And again, it's a very typical story. You get sicker quicker because every exposure damages you faster and more. And then if there is mold in the apartment, in my case, it was behind kitchen cabinets and it wasn't a humidity issue because Florida is humid. It was leaking dishwasher. Of course, outdoor humidity contributed to that because probably it never fully dried and it constantly kept on like feeding on it. So entire drywall got mold inside, full kitchen, full of mold. And then it gets into AC unit and it blows on you because when you're in a bedroom, many bedrooms they have AC just blasting on you 24/7, so you inhale more spores. When I had inspection, when we opened AC unit and also did snake cameras inside vents, we found so much mold in it that is like horrible. It's all toxic mold. So I've been in bed trying to heal and I've been inhaling more mold and I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. I had no explanations. My doctors had no explanation. We thought, okay, it's long COVID because COVID really hit me hard at least 3 times. And then I stopped counting or testing or anything, but it's been really bad. So it's been a cascade, mold exposure in a childhood damaged my immune system a little bit, but I could still function. Then COVID damaged me pretty badly. Then perhaps I had this Lyme since 16 years ago, but my immune system was kind of taking care of it. It's been there. Some symptoms would show up and go away. But every of these things, every mold exposure contributed more, and that's it. My immune system just broke and could not keep any longer. And that's when I don't know, my life just flipped upside down. I was spending days in bed without answers, without solutions, not knowing what to do. But yeah, luckily later on I found answers, and clinical diagnosis is extremely important, extremely, extremely important. Without an accurate diagnosis, you can only do this much. So it's been a journey. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. So we talked about deficiency, toxicity, and then nervous system.
Yeah.
So curious, that has to have, a significant impact on your mental sort of like, I don't know, that would be very difficult to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been super confusing. And I'm a very reasonable and rational person and sometimes pretty stoic. And I know that everything is okay in life. It's we label things as good and bad, but everything is real, like neutrality, and it's okay. But you understand that, but you feel completely the opposite. Your mind is racing, your heart is racing, you have no idea what's happening. It's better, sometimes it's worse. One day it feels like I won't survive. That's how it feels. It's not even my thoughts. It just feels that I won't survive. That's it. My body is giving up. And I can't explain. It's like part of me understands that I will survive, but you just know you won't. This symptom is called sense of impending doom, and it's pretty common in mold world, but I didn't know back then. So this knowledge is really empowering when I've learned what exactly brain inflammation is. And mold causes your limbic system, your center of emotions, to get inflamed. And then it's just a mess. Like, you don't understand. One day everything is falling apart. Next day you wake up and things are normal and I can keep doing things. And that's why, like, it's an invisible illness, because people might see me socializing or dancing, or like I was still able at the beginning to keep some physical activity going on. And you don't understand yourself. Like, am I really that sick? Like, I'm okay. I can do things, I look okay. I'm capable to work out a little bit and to work. And next day you think that you'll never get better. And it's on and off like this with every exposure. Then your body gets so sensitized. Then you react to foods, to different environments. You can go to yoga class. I'm happy. I'm grateful to my body. I really had a good yoga class. I worked out. And then I'm sick for the next 3 days or 5 days with fever. So was it because I overworked out? Or was it because it's Miami yoga studio that has mold in air conditioning? And that's super common. That's more than 70%.
How do you determine, if it's everywhere and you are sensitive and there are 25% of the population is sensitive, then before you move into a place, there isn't like well, what do you do? What do you do to try to figure out if there's mold?
Testing.
How do you test? How do you do it?
Well, the problem is there is no perfect testing for mold. You can do air samples, total spores count in the air, or you can do dust test and visual inspection. Like, always do visual inspection.
So what do you just get dust off the...
Visual inspection, so under the sink, in a kitchen, open all the cabinets, check everywhere, check AC unit. You might not be able to open it, but if you have such sensitivity, then you have to demand from your landlord, agent, to do these things. And yes, the sample is the most informative. So you have these Swiffer cloths, you collect dust, and then you send it to the lab. We do PCR testing and we see what's in it, what kind of molds. Some of them it's non-negotiable, like chiatomum. You don't want to live there. You can't remediate that. So certain molds, you don't even move in there. There's no sterile place. All places gonna have some mold because they are natural. They are outside, outdoor, indoor. But it really depends what molds you have. If you have toxic mold, then you don't want to live there. You can ask for a landlord to remediate it. It's always good to check, to see, to have a conversation up front, to see how willing they are to take some action if something is there, if something happens. Because some landlords are in the biggest denial. Like, when my dishwasher has been removed, you can see so much black mold on the wall. Everyone said, get out of there today, right away. Don't take your stuff, leave it. It's probably contaminated. Just get out of there. My landlord, he was like, I don't think it's mold. It's just something black on the wall. And it's like, my friends went through the same, and landlords are in the biggest denial. I'm like, where from what planet they coming from?
You also think too now, if somebody starts asking you about mold, that's probably that's a tenant that you might not want. Right?
Yeah.
So you got to be careful
Right.
how you do things. So it's very difficult to actually, I think, as a young person, try to figure out. It's interesting, when my son went to school in the dorm for the first year, I know that dorm was toxic because everybody was sick. And then you had that first year dorm sickness that everybody, it's like just spreading around. And he got really, really sick at one point.
Wow.
Almost came home. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Everybody was sick in that dorm.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I hear these stories even from like close friends so frequently. And again, different people have different symptoms, but a couple of my friends' siblings had suicidal ideations just because they started college. And you would think, oh, maybe it's the study load is too high or like stress or something. It was actually mold, you know. We moved the bed. There was so much black mold behind the bed, in a cabinet. And the moment we moved out, no more anxiety, no more depression, just normal, students being students. It's so unfortunate. I was trying to look up some statistics. More than 50% of students report they have like moist in their dorms and all mold, actual visible mold.
I remember in my dorm, I could smell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And when I go to Miami, you could just smell, there's that weird smell. It's almost like the same smell that you smell in Mexico.
Yeah.
In the airport.
Yeah.
Now I know they've redone the airport now. I'm sure, I don't know if it's, but I'm
I
sure
can still smell it.
it's probably still there.
My brain is on alert. I smell it from.
Yeah. But I remember that, right? It's just like I was like, huh. And I hate that smell.
I hate mold smell. The bigger issue is air fresheners that we use to cover mold issue. And I see it everywhere. I'd rather choose mold smell, so at least I know I have to get out of this building instead of staying in a building that is full of the scents to mask mold issues. And we do it everywhere in residential buildings. You walk in and the building can be like 4 or 5 years old. It's still pretty new, but it already has mold issues. It smells like hotel, and it actually has mold issues.
It's crazy. I got to tell you the story. So we go on this trip. It's a fishing trip. So we get this Airbnb, go into it. Fabuloso. That stuff is so, like, I can take some of this, but I'm very smell sensitive. I have a nose. I can smell weird smells, and it bothers me. We go into this place. The Fabuloso is underneath the sink. So the people that are cleaning the place are using this cleaning product. It's so toxic. It's so bad. I can't sleep at night in this place. It just is like, there's no other option, right? So I was like, I feel like sleeping outside because it's just so bad, right? Yeah.
Through like the moment I check in into Airbnb, I look for, like, if I smell air fresheners, I disconnect them, I hide them, I seal them, wrap, just cover them, because they are so toxic. On top of that, they are hiding other issues.
Let me ask you this. So what about people that wear perfume or scents, any kind of scents? Does that bother you?
It depends how intense it is. If it's really subtle, it doesn't bother me. But if personally I'm buying something for myself, I'm gonna use it occasionally, rarely, and I choose only natural perfume. Like I don't do these synthetic fragrances because they're endocrine disruptors. And in general, you don't want to cover your natural, smell. Like I don't believe in over perfuming. Sometimes people feel like walking in a cloud of scents, like it bothers a lot of practitioners in this integrative functional medicine. they warn patients up front, or at least somewhere like on the website, like don't wear intense perfumes because it irritates people who are more health conscious and aware. They don't want to see, 10 patients a day, each of them coming with their own cloud of fragrances.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm curious because I did, and I forgot this morning. So I put on a little bit of stuff. Can you smell it?
Again.
Okay, because I always go very light. But yeah, it's interesting. And the endocrine disruptor portion of it.
Yeah.
That's something I want to talk to you about. I want people to hear, so a lot of people don't realize that. You're trying to live a healthy life and then you put this stuff on. I was always super smell sensitive. Yeah. Like I couldn't have any kind of laundry detergent that had any kind of scent to it. I don't want any of that stuff around. So from an endocrine disruption standpoint, how do fragrances impact people? People are putting this stuff on, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the stuff in the environment, but the stuff they put on. How does this work?
Yeah. There are different mechanisms for every chemicals your body cannot excrete. So whatever goes in, it stays in. The most common mechanism is that they are xenoestrogens. So we mimic your estrogen. We connect to receptors where your actual estrogen should connect. And it impairs so many functions in your body. So you get hormone disbalances because of that. Plus, there are other mechanisms. It irritates your lungs, respiratory system, and so on.
And ultimately,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's great that your body is so aware and rejecting these things before, it's too late. A lot of people ignore these things and then they accumulate where total toxic load bucket becomes so full. And that's when disease happens and symptoms show up.
Join us Friday for part 2 of the interview with Dr. Karolina.